This is Dr. Anna Nichols, and this is the new FDA Approvals podcast for June 17th through the 21st, 2024. Please do tell your colleagues about this podcast. It's directed towards anybody in the medical or pharmaceutical industries. Hope it's helpful. All right, so first up this week, we have the FDA has approved the 21-valent pneumococcal conjugate vaccine called Capvaxive, and that's for the prevention of invasive disease and pneumonia in adults aged 18 years and older caused by any of 21 Streptococcus pneumoniae serotypes responsible for the majority of invasive pneumococcal disease, high PT cases in adults. Capvaxive represents an advance as it includes 8 serotypes not covered by other pneumococcal vaccines, addressing approximately 27% of IPT cases in adults aged 50 and older, and 30% in adults aged 65 and older based on CDC data. The approval follows an FDA Priority review. Continued approval is contingent upon verification of clinical benefit in a confirmatory trial. Capvaxive was evaluated in the Phase 3 STRIDE-3 trial, which evaluated this agent compared to PCV20 in pneumococcal vaccine-naive adults. The FDA granted the approval of this vaccine to Merck. Also this week, the FDA has approved delandistrogene moxeparvovec-rokl, more easily pronounced as Elevidys, for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, DMD, in ambulatory individuals aged 4 and older with a confirmed mutation in the DMD gene. Elevidys was also granted accelerated approval this week for non-ambulatory individuals. This week's approvals follow accelerated approval granted last year in June 2023 for ambulatory children aged between 4 and 5 years of age. DMD is a severe progressive disease that primarily affects boys and leads to muscle weakness, loss of ambulation, and significantly reduced lifespan. Elevidys, a one-time intravenous gene therapy, delivers a working copy of the DMD gene to address the muscle degeneration caused by mutations in this gene. This week's approvals are based on findings from a confirmatory trial that, while not meeting its primary endpoint, did show success in several secondary measures. ENVISION, the Phase 3 trial of Elevidys in non-ambulatory and older ambulatory individuals with DMD, is underway and is intended to serve as a post-marketing requirement for this agent. The approval of Elevidys was granted to Sarepta Therapeutics. And now a word from the supporter of this podcast, Nascent Medical. Attention all businesses in need of exceptional medical writing support. Nascent Medical is the solution. We are a team of skilled MD and PhD level medical writers who specialize in fast turnaround needs assessments, manuscripts, slide decks, ad board summaries, and much, much more. Don't settle for anything less than excellence when it comes to your medical writing assistance. Visit nascentmc as in medicalcommunications.com. That's nascentmc.com. We're here so that you never have to be without excellent medical writing help. nascentmc.com. Also this week, the FDA approved adagrasib, also called Krazati, plus cetuximab for adults with KRAS G12C mutated locally advanced or metastatic colorectal cancer as determined by an FDA-approved test. And it's for patients who have received prior treatment with fluoropyrimidine, oxaliplatin, and irinotecan-based chemotherapy. Adagrasib, a KRAS inhibitor, targets KRAS G12 mutation, a common driver mutation in several cancers, including colorectal cancer. Cetuximab, an epidermal growth factor receptor, EGFR inhibitor, is used to enhance the anti-tumor activity of adagrasib in this combination therapy. The FDA initially granted accelerated approval to adagrasib in December 2022 for the treatment of adult patients with KRAS G12C mutated, locally advanced or metastatic non-small cell lung cancer who had received at least one prior systemic therapy. This week's approval in colorectal cancer was based on findings from the Crystal-1 trial, a multi-center single-arm expansion cohort study. In this trial, eligible patients with KRAS G12C mutated locally advanced or metastatic CRC who had previously been treated with fluoropyrimidine, oxaliplatin, and irinotecan-based chemotherapy and a VEGF inhibitor, if eligible, received adagrasib 600 mg twice daily plus cetuximab. The major efficacy outcomes included a confirmed overall response rate of 34%, with all responses being partial responses and a median duration of response of 5.8 months. Additionally, 31% of responding patients had a duration of response of at least 6 months. The approval of adagrasib was granted to Mirati Therapeutics, Inc., which is now a Bristol-Myers Squibb company. Also this week, the FDA has approved pembrolizumab, Keytruda, for use in combination with carboplatin and paclitaxel, followed by pembrolizumab monotherapy to treat primary advanced or recurrent endometrial carcinoma in adults. This marks the third endometrial carcinoma indication for Keytruda in the U.S., bringing the total approved indications to 40 for Keytruda. This agent is already approved in combination with lenvatinib as a single agent for certain advanced cases of endometrial carcinoma. Keytruda is already approved in combination with lenvatinib and as a single agent for certain advanced cases of endometrial carcinoma. Keytruda is an anti-PD-1 therapy that enhances the body's immune response against tumor cells by blocking the interaction between PD-1 and its ligands, PD-L1 and PD-L2, which are often exploited by cancer cells to evade immune detection. Endometrial carcinoma is the most common gynecological cancer in the U.S., with increasing mortality rates projected to surpass deaths from ovarian cancer by 2024. And I happened to look that up, and that is primarily due to the increasing rates of obesity, unfortunately. The FDA's approval is based on results from the Phase 3 Keynote 868 clinical trial, which demonstrated significant improvements in progression-free survival for patients treated with Keytruda plus chemotherapy compared to those receiving a placebo with chemotherapy. Specifically, the combination therapy reduced the risk of disease progression or mortality by 40% in patients with mismatch repair proficient cancer and by 70% in those with mismatch repair deficient cancer. For patients with mismatch repair proficient cancer, the median PFS was 11.1 months compared to 8.5 months in the placebo group. The approval of pembrolizumab was granted to Merck. Also this week, the FDA approved risankizumab, RZAA, also called Skyrizi, for the treatment of moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis in adults. This approval marks Skyrizi as the first specific anti-interleukin-23 monoclonal antibody indicated for ulcerative colitis and moderate to severe Crohn's disease. Previously, Skyrizi was approved in the United States for treating adults with active psoriatic arthritis and moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Risankizumab RZAA inhibits interleukin-23, IL-23, a cytokine involved in inflammatory and immune responses, thereby reducing inflammation. Ulcerative colitis is a chronic inflammatory bowel disease characterized by inflammation and ulceration of the colon and rectum, leading to symptoms such as abdominal pain, diarrhea, and rectal bleeding. The approval of Skyrizi for ulcerative colitis is based on data from 2 Phase 3 clinical trials, INSPIRE and COMMAND. These studies demonstrated that the primary endpoint of clinical remission was achieved along with key secondary endpoint of endoscopic improvement. Also last week, a supplemental biologics license application, SBLA, has been submitted for guselkumab, also called Tremfya, for the treatment of adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease. Guselkumab was approved in July 2017 for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis and in July 2020 for active psoriatic arthritis. Guselkumab is a fully human, dual-acting monoclonal antibody that blocks IL-23 and binds to CD64, a receptor on cells that produce IL-23. Support for the supplemental biologics license application is based on findings from the Phase 3 Galaxy and Gravity clinical trials. Tremfya is manufactured by Johnson & Johnson. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Please do tell your colleagues about this podcast. I'm trying to always increase the listenership. I publish this every Monday morning at 7 or 8 a.m., something like that. So I hope you will listen. All right, have a great week.